Have you ever looked at a globe in a classroom and wondered whether it was like a ripe fruit, smooth on the outside, thin and fragile, and inside something no one has ever been allowed to bite into? But what if Earth is not just a solid sphere of rock? What if it is a container, and inside that container there is a kingdom? Agartha, the kingdom within the earth. Our central question is simple. If Agartha is only a myth, why does it keep returning? Why does it change names, change masks, yet refuse to disappear? And if Agartha is real, what has kept it hidden beneath our feet for so long? Let us begin with an image so large it feels unsettling. You stand on the ground. You stamp your foot, and you ask yourself what lies below. Soil, rock, water tables, molten magma. That is the correct answer. Yet in folklore, in esoteric writings, in stories dismissed as fantasy, the answer is different. A vast network of caverns, tunnels stretching across continents, cities illuminated from within, a civilization that chose not to surface. It sounds like fiction. And so, people laugh. But have you noticed something strange? They laugh. And yet they keep telling the story. They keep writing about it. They keep making films. They keep whispering, quietly, what if? Agartha, sometimes spelled sometimes associated with Shambhala in Tibetan lore, sometimes described as the capital of an underground empire, ruled by a sovereign and guarded by hidden entrances. Does that structure feel familiar? Heaven above, hell below, and humanity in between. But Agartha is not portrayed as hell. It is described as luminous, pure, advanced. Then why must it lie beneath? Why is what is higher placed lower? That is the first paradox. Across civilizations, humanity has always been fascinated with what lies underneath. The Greeks imagined Hades. The Norse envisioned worlds within Yggdrasil. The Maya spoke of Shiva. Hindu cosmology describes Patala in layered realms. Yet Agartha stands apart. It is not merely a spiritual underworld. It is a nation, with structure, with architecture, with technology, with purpose. And here, the myth begins to wear the clothing of hypothesis. That is when it becomes dangerous. Dangerous because once reason steps into the labyrinth, it may not easily find its way out. The term Agartha entered Western imagination strongly in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Esoteric texts described a hidden empire beneath the crust. Travel accounts hinted at secret monasteries guarding entrances. Certain figures claimed knowledge from hidden sources. Naturally, we ask, what sources? Who verified them? Where is the physical evidence? These are rational questions, and precisely because they are rational, the story becomes more compelling. Agartha has never won a debate through hard evidence. It survives through something else, the eerie repetition of the motif, its appearance across cultures, the persistent sense that something remains unexplained. Of course, repetition can be psychological. Humans fear the dark beneath their feet. Humans dream of refuge. Humans long for an escape from surface chaos, a reasonable explanation. Agartha has collective dream, but then comes the counter-argument. If it is merely dream, why the structural detail? Why maps of entrances? Why descriptions of tunnel systems spanning continents? Why link it to real Lokesh Himalaya, Gobi Desert, the poles? Dreams are vague, yet Agartha often appears. Organized levers point to anomalies. Strange sinkholes, immense cave systems not fully explored, unusual subterranean sounds. Magnetic irregularities. It is true we have not mapped every cave. It is true we have not explored the entire ocean. It is true the Earth still hides geological mysteries. But the leap from unknown spaces to hidden kingdom is vast. That leap is where suspicion ignites. Let us examine the practicalities. A subterranean civilization would require air, water, stable temperature, energy, food systems, a reason to remain isolated. Some narratives respond. They evolve differently. They possess self-sustaining technology. They are descendants of a lost surface civilization. That last hypothesis resonates strongly. because modern humanity is haunted by discontinuity, by the fear that history is fragmented. That knowledge has been lost. When we stand before ancient megaliths and wonder how they were built, it is tempting to imagine hidden custodians of knowledge, gods, extraterrestrials, or a civilization beneath us. Agartha becomes a container for unanswered questions. Its strength lies there. Its weakness as well, for a theory that explains everything often explains nothing. You might conclude, Agartha is merely a poetic placeholder for ignorance. Perhaps, yet the narrative persisted into the early 20th century with controversial expedition, Tally's reports of luminous phenomena where darkness should reign. Stories of entrances at the poles. Why? The poles, because they are remote, icy. One's blank spaces on maps. Blank spaces are where monsters live. Where secrets hide. It is convenient. Agartha positioned where verification is difficult. And yet science itself has been wrong before. Maps were once incomplete. History has been rewritten, not because of conspiracy alone, but because humans fill gaps with stories. Yet sometimes gaps truly exist. So instead of asking whether Agartha exists, perhaps we should ask why it was imagined. If symbolic, what does it represent? Refuge, hidden wisdom, a secret authority, a memory of a lost civilization, a reversal of a broken world. Psychologically, Agartha is a descent into inner layers. The more chaotic the surface becomes, the more appealing a hidden order feels. But that comfort carries risk. If salvation lies below, we may neglect the world above. Then Agartha transforms from myth into instrument. History shows that myths of hidden kingdoms have been manipulated by ideologies. When a narrative is vague enough, it can be shaped to serve power. We see parallels in stories of Atlantis, of Lemuria, of superior ancestral races. So we must ask carefully. When does curiosity become exploitation? Imagine yourself in the 19th century. War, colonization, disease. You read of ancient marvels. You hear whispers of Eastern wisdom. You might believe humanity once knew more than it does now. And if knowledge was lost, perhaps someone preserved it. Where? Somewhere untouched by conquest, untouched by time, beneath the ground. In that context, Agartha becomes promise, a reassurance that chaos is only surface deep, but promise can breed passivity. If a perfect civilization waits below, why fix the broken one above? Let us challenge further. If such a civilization exists and does not intervene, are they enlightened or indifferent? If they intervene, are they guardians or manipulators? Every option casts shadow. Perhaps Agartha is not literal kingdom. Perhaps it echoes real subterranean cities built in times of hardship. Shelters expanded into legend, tunnels magnified into planetary networks. Myth naturally exaggerates. Yet exaggeration alone does not explain why Agartha often carries spiritual luminosity, why it is portrayed as center of wisdom, why it governs unseen currents of history. Unless there is a deeper psychological necessity, what if Agartha is not geography, but cartography of consciousness? Descent not into soil, but into the unconscious, into collective archetypes. In Tatsensei, entrances are not at the poles. They are at moments of collapse, war, loss, disillusionment. Agartha becomes imagined center of stability, a stabilizing myth with real emotional effect. But then we face another question. Why do cultures separated by distance draw similar subterranean motifs? Shared biology, shared fears, or a shared ancestral narrative, long forgotten, we cannot assert. We can only ask. Science describes Earth's core, mantle, immense pressure, and heat. A kingdom as depicted in esoteric lore would not survive such conditions. Strong counter-arguments, yet some adapt. The hypothesis, perhaps it lies not at the core, but in shallower geological pockets. In cavern systems yet undiscovered, shift the location slightly, and the myth survives. That flexibility makes it resilient, but also suspect. Is Agartha enduring because it is real, or because it cannot be conclusively disproven? Here lies the most uncomfortable thought. If every mystery survives through lack of verification, why does Agartha remain uniquely captivating? Perhaps because it is not merely mystery, it is invitation. An invitation to look beneath. Perhaps 3 layers overlap: literary esotericism, historical exaggeration of real subterranean refuges, psychological symbolism. These layers do not cancel each other. They coexist, and that coexistence creates the feeling that something remains unresolved. So if you ask me, is Agartha real? I will answer with another question. If an idea compels generations across centuries to look downward in wonder, is it entirely fiction, or does reality sometimes reside not in geology, but in influence? And if one day humanity discovers beneath its feet a structure not yet catalogued, a cavern system impossible in scale, a signal not entirely natural, which name will resurface first? Atlantis beneath the sea, or Agartha beneath the earth? What would be more unsettling? That Agartha never existed, or that it has always been there, waiting for the moment we finally question the ground we stand on?